Kerr, we've just watched a really entertaining game. Goals, I suppose, coming into this, we probably should have expected it. Both sides have been in good form, but I'm kind of thinking back to when I saw both teams playing earlier in the season, and they didn't really play any attractive football. They were kind of maybe grinding out results or else losing games badly. So a pleasant surprise maybe to get such an entertaining game today.
Yeah, I think the pressure is certainly off Newcastle. They've strung a few good victories together. They scored 8 goals in the 3 league games since the lockdown. Confidence builders certainly, beating Bournemouth 4-1, beating Sheffield United 3-0, and suddenly the front players are starting to click. I'd say Sam Maximum in great form, Almiron playing well, Joe Hilton bit mixed, I think, his form, but Dwight Gale scored the last 2 games. So they were going into the match in confident mood, and no pressure on them. 42 points, mid-table. West Ham, on the other hand, started with 2 defeats to Wolves and Spurs, but a great win over Chelsea. And they went to Newcastle in confident mood. No crowd at the match, so no fear. No reason why you can't go and show your attacking qualities. West Ham did their best to take the game to Newcastle today. Will be annoyed that they didn't win it because they got the lead goal early on, went ahead then in the middle of the second half, but coughed up the equaliser within the next minute. So I think David Moyes will be the more annoyed, but will be happy that they got a point, and I don't think Steve Bruce will be too unhappy with a draw either.
I'll come back to Newcastle in a moment, because just looking at West Ham, do you feel that the situation where we saw for the first time where Mark Noble was fit and he was left on the bench, do you think this new partnership of Declan Rice and Souček is a big reason for West Ham starting to play the way they're playing against Chelsea and again against Newcastle today?
I think Souček is a good player, has great potential for the Premier League. Declan Rice has certainly done well for West Ham. Mark Noble has been a kind of centrepiece of West Ham for so many years, but I feel that himself and Rice are a little bit both one-paced, and neither of them are inclined to glide by players into the box and get goals. Souček has certainly potential to score goals, and they brought Noble on the second half and played with 3. I think David Moyes is still trying to find a formula and a combination of players that are consistently effective. Antonio is playing centre forward now. When Haller plays, he'll play. If Haller is available, he'll play centre forward. But we've seen Antonio in the past playing as a full back, playing wide in the right. He's playing off the front. Today he's playing centre forward. I think with the number of injuries he has, you look at Snodgrass is not available, Anderson's not available, Haller is not available. I think they're the sort of players that could be in his best starting 11, but he's looking for a team or a group of players that are going to get him consistent results. And with the set of matches they have left, they have to play a lot of teams that are down near the bottom of the table: Aston Villa, Norwich, Watford, Burnley mid-table, Manchester United in great form. They're a set of fixtures that they could get points from, and it could mean that he'll be staying on in the job for the future, and it'll give him a chance when the next window is open, be it that it's all going to be helter-skelter now in the most unusual setup that we've had. He'll have a chance to bring in some of the players he'd like to have, because he hasn't been there for the summer window in the last 2 years. He's been the manager that's been in before the window to rescue it. And I think he'll rescue it this year for them again.
Looking at Newcastle then, Brian, Steve Bruce wasn't a popular choice at the start of the season, but as you mentioned during the commentary, I know they haven't got to the 45, but it looks like, when you look at the rest of the games they have this season, they will pick up more points. He will end up with a better tally than Rafa Benitez last season. So has Steve Bruce, it's hard to say will he keep the job when the whole takeover business with the consortium from Saudi Arabia is still ongoing as well. But if he doesn't keep the job, do you think he's the type of manager that some other Premier League club then will be happy to pick up based on what he's done with Newcastle this season?
I think he's done himself no harm at all. I mean, he went in there, and I think they sold their 2 highest goal scorers from last year. Perez went to Leicester, There was another centre forward went, but I remember kind of saying that's not great. I'm not sure Steve Bruce picked Joe Wilton from Hoffenheim. He hadn't scored an awful lot of goals for
I think that was
Hoffenheim,
a Mike Ashley,
and it was a £40 million
deal,
player. He I think if Steve Bruce was given 40 million to spend, I think he might have spent it a lot more astutely than on one player who had scored, I think, 9 goals last year for Hoffenheim. So if he gets the job, I think he has earned it on the performances he's got out of the team this year, on having quite a steady season. Like now they're on 43 points with 5 games left to go. Still a possibility of them to get some more points, although they've got some difficult games. City, Watford, possible points there. Spurs not in great form. Brighton, Liverpool. So yeah, there's a possibility for them to get more points than they got under Benitez last year without much investment in the team. I think he deserves to get another go at it. But the way these things work, for some reason, these people, when they take over the club, if and when it happens, they always seem to feel we should change the manager. I'm not sure what the logic of that is if the team is doing all right.
And it all hinges on this whole deal going through, because I know Steve Bruce even himself seemed to get frustrated during the week. He said, look, we need to get this sorted out. Somebody needs to make a decision on this. I know the Premier League are still looking at the whole deal.
Yeah, like it's messy when you're trying to get players, re-sign them, plan,
I know Longstaff
for the future. But
the
two Longstaff situation, and now it's Sam Maximum playing very well, and I think he's getting a bit edgy. He wants a better deal. He's got into a dressing room. He's discovered that some fellas are getting twice the money he's getting.
Well, I can tell you, I think the Mag fanzine reckon he was getting 34 grand a week, and that's less than half of what some of the bigger players in the dressing room are getting. It doesn't
sound too bad, does it? But at the same time, if there's other players in the dressing room who are not doing as well, and you're miles behind him, he's getting anxious. He's probably got an agent who was in his ear saying, I can get you a deal somewhere. But as I understand it, he signed a 6-year contract when he signed from Nice in the summer for 18 million transfer fee. But anyway, I mean, it's a very unsatisfactory situation from a manager's point of view, trying to plan about the future. And maybe some other clubs are having a nibble at a player or two that you have as well. Certainly the young players, the 2 Longstaffs, are ones that there's been talk about them going, and they're local boys. So they do need to get it sorted out, but at the same time, it doesn't look like the Saudi Arabia boys are the ones that any principled set of supporters would like to have coming into their club.
Just looking back maybe at yesterday's games, Brian, and I know a lot of people were very impressed by Manchester United's performance against Bournemouth, and you would look at their attack and you would say there's been so many impressive players this season. Rashford, I know, is only coming back from injury, but he's had a good season overall. Greenwood, I know you're a big fan of. He looks absolutely fantastic, and it looks like Pogba and Fernandes are starting to build up a little bit of a partnership there, but it all goes back to the back four, doesn't it? This is possibly going to be their big problem going into next season.
Well, I'm not... well, the back four looks brittle at times, and they've lots of players there. Bally was playing yesterday, and he hasn't looked too well when he has played. Maguire, I think, has generally played well for them. He's made a couple of mistakes in recent matches. There's talk about De Gea certainly not been on the form of previous years. Will he be put under a bit more pressure? Will Henderson come back from Sheffield United as a possible number one before the start of next season? Wan-Bissaka right back has done okay. I mean, the criticisms of him have been that his crossing hasn't been great, but I think defensively he's done quite well, and Shaw has done quite well. But I think overall what people need to maybe take back some of the criticism they made of Solskjaer and Manchester United earlier in the season, on a run now with 16, 17 games unbeaten, playing against good opposition. The front part of the pitch, I mean, the big difference is obviously Fernandes, the sign of Fernandes, the influence he's had in the team, his creativity on the ball, the fact that he's an attacker who scores goals but also makes goals. And other people seem to have kind of suddenly clicked around him. Pogba has come back into the team after all the all the messing about with him and injured, and is he really injured? Is his ankle that bad that he's out for months? But he's come back and seems to have come on in a combination with Fernandes that's very effective. Matic seems to be like a young boy again, getting around the pitch and being effective. I mean, I've said in commentary this season, as far as I'm concerned, his legs are gone for this level. I thought Fred was actually doing quite well. The front players have been very impressive. Greenwood, Rashford, Martial has hit a bit of form. The goals are flowing, and they're playing with real confidence and a bit of the kind of style that Manchester United fans have been crying out for 3 or 4 seasons. They're playing with that style now. If they can shore up the defence and cut out some of the mistakes that have been made, that have put them under pressure in some games. But look, you know, maybe sometimes you got to sacrifice a little bit at the back to get the entertainment bit and get the attack bit right. You might not be as solid in the middle of the field with the protection for the back four if you want to play with that kind of bravado and out and out attacking play that's often demanded by Manchester United supporters, and put up with a bit of creakiness, let's say, defensively. But you do want your goalkeeper to be more reliable than he has been in the last year or two, compared he was in the 4 previous seasons where he was absolutely outstanding. But you know, I think Solskjaer has done a good job, and he's building a team, I'd say astutely and solidly at the moment, that he deserves time to pursue the direction he's going in at the moment.
And just on Mason Greenwood, I know he was featured on Match of the Day last night. All of the former England strikers getting very excited, Gary Lineker and Ian Wright. But look, they gave a list of 18-year-old strikers, English strikers that scored double figures. The only ones apart from him were Wayne Rooney, Robbie Fowler and Michael Owen, who did it twice. Are they right to get carried away about him? Do you think he's the real deal? You've seen him play live.
Well, you have to be impressed with what he's done in recent weeks, particularly. I mean, when I saw him in the early rounds, they were using him in the Europa League early on the season, and he scored some goals. The opposition wasn't top notch by any means. He scored a few very clever goals on the near post, beating the goalkeeper on his right foot on the near post. Looked like a lad with potential. Of all the young players they used in the Europa League this year, which they were getting them through those games, he looked the one who was ready, I thought, to step up. And when he's played in the Premier League and when he's come on in games, he looks like he has the physicality, he has the pace, he has a bit of maturity about him, and most of all, he has the ability to score goals on either foot, on either side. He doesn't seem to get ruffled when he gets a bit of time. And when he doesn't have too much time, he seems to be able to adjust his feet and body quick enough to get the shot away before the defenders adjust. And that's what we saw yesterday, particularly on the second goal when he was being forced away out towards the sideline on his right-hand side. He flashes the shot back into the goal, across the goalkeeper off his right foot. Brilliant goal. So, you know, I think people are right to be enthused about him. I don't think anyone's gone too mad at the moment, but he looks like he's going to be a real player. It's not easy to break through at Manchester United, a club who are well able to purchase players at the top of the market, but he looks like one, along with Rashford, who's another one of their own who's come through in recent years. He looks like a real deal. And
to finish that top 4 race, how do you kind of see it going now? Chelsea, Leicester, United. Is it between those 3 now for those 2 places outside City and Liverpool?
Well, that's what it looks like, doesn't it? You know, it looks like obviously Liverpool and City are away, and the other 3 for 2 spots. Leicester falling off a little bit will be a relief. They got a couple of results now. Chelsea still very much in the reckoning. I'm playing well, you know. I thought in the game at Manchester City they were outstanding in that game. They were a bit vulnerable defensively, but it was a great game, and it was a great performance when they had to play in the counter-attack when City were coming at them. They showed exciting attacking qualities. Mount is a good player, Willian in great form. Again, yesterday we saw Willian in superb form again. So I think that's going to be a tight one, and it's going to go to the end. But they look the most likely. Arsenal are a bit hit and miss. Yes, they put a couple of results together, but they're too far off. Spurs are miles off. Wolves lost out yesterday, so they're drifting away. Sheffield United, I don't think they'll have enough either. I think you're right in saying 3-2. And that should keep an interest in it until the end of the season.
Well, all those four involved playing against each other in the last day, so isn't it Wolves, Man U, Chelsea against Leicester?
Well, you're looking far ahead of it than I am. I haven't looked that far. I'm looking week to week. I'm getting dizzy with the number of matches that are on at the moment. Well, what were yesterday's matches? Oh, there's 4 today. Many's tomorrow. Well, we on tomorrow. So, you're well done. You're well ahead of it.